Hello. So I've got 2 or 3 hats as I was introduced, and I'm Greek. My name is Leonida. I represent a small country in the south, as you know, and the name of it is Karpos. Karpos means fruit, and I would actually like to use this word and this literary connotation. It's small, it's dry, but it's a lot of protein in it, and you can carry it in your pocket with no problems, and it lasts for months. So taking this back to the media literacy area, I think what we're trying to do is to work with flexibility and mobility. This is something I'm going to be talking today. Let's talk a little bit about flexibility. Let's forget about technology. Forget the iPads. We're all in a ship, and it's a big storm, and we have to throw things out. So start throwing things. I don't think you can throw food, and I don't think you can throw the children. So what's there to throw? Laptops? Probably, because we need to survive. So let's imagine that we have thrown out everything, all technology, but we still want to do some media work with the children. And how could that be done? So if I'm in the island, if we manage to arrive in the island, and I've got your children around, and I need to show them something about animation, about movement, about rhythm, about character, and about lighting as well. One can imagine doing things in a very simple way. So, for example, this could be a way to start talking to young children, and not only to them, but also to other people. And if things are going to that end, there's also a few things in media literacy that haven't changed. And this is something I would like to talk about. One thing is the frame. Another thing I kept with me in the island. No iPads there. So at least this went dry. And this is a way we use to teach young children and also adults to start thinking of what is a frame. We all know that the frame is the basis for film, but also of literacy, media literacy, because it talks about choosing what you put inside, talks about aesthetics at the same time, exactly what is your vision, and you can also reflect on your choices. And then you can start talking of what is left outside the frame. So again, and it doesn't break, that's also very helpful to think when you have nothing. And talking about the previous speaker, I was glad to hear that the print material still exists in Finland as well. So that means it's not only a problem of the South. It means something about human beings as well. So we have to think all the time of print and media, digital and analog, all the time. I think we're still at the decade of things are expanding, but we're not yet sure how to use them. So talking about the frame then, which is something still valid, here you can see 6-year-olds, 6.5 actually, before giving them cameras, they get used to the idea of choosing, of looking around at their environment, thinking of what they want to portray, and then gradually they get, of course, in the digital media. But it's very helpful. And the other thing I find hasn't changed for the 100 years is the suspension of disbelief, is the fantasy that we want to believe in. We are using media in different ways. You know, the stereoscopes, the stereograph, it was very, very famous more than 100 years ago. And now we are doing the same thing. Actually, history repeats itself. We should always go back and look at what was happening. I find it very informing to look what is the body language, what are the patterns of people using equipment and media. Cameras have changed, but the process and the look hasn't changed. So it's an interesting thing to see what is still happening because we are humans. It's not about equipment. And maybe in 15 years, I don't know, maybe we won't have mobile phones, we'll be shooting with our glasses. We all know all these experiments. So it's not about using the equipment only, it's about thinking the processes of the mind that guide our wishes to do something related to the image. Okay, I'll be giving a few examples of how simple, cheap, printed stuff can be used with young people and older, of course, teacher training at the same time, which is easy to do, is very cheap, can happen in the mountains or wherever possible, practical things, which, however, my vision is all these practices can be transferred into mobile apps because they are based on the still image. I think the still image is now going to be the king of education as well, because it's very clear and very simple, and everybody's doing it. So this is, I'm showing a couple of them. This is an activity we do which starts from the frame again, the one I was saying, choosing yourself as a character of a story. So fantasizing who I am, why, what do I do, and then gradually after printing it, it's very important that the kids think of what was left behind, what was left outside their choice. So to realize what it means that you say with your frame. And of course there is text, annotations, dialogues, any kind of words can come in depending to the message they want to convey. And also this is a very good material for discussions among children. I'm just translating shortly the idea. So this is also related to us because she's the witch. She's the witch teacher. That's the way she's going to teach her classmates. And another one, this is interesting because it introduces off-frame elements that we use in media a lot, off-sound, secondary characters, audience, dialogues, interaction, and the kids are boxing. They imagine themselves as two boxers in fighting. And the audience around gives their anger or shows their intentions, and they're pushing the characters to do one thing or the other. And this is a similar thing, but done with very, very young ones. I just wanted to show it to prove that the very young ones, as David said, can produce material, and that the still image, as long as it is a still image, is a very good tool because they can actually discuss on a still image. It's very difficult to discuss on video. It's a very synthetic tool. So this girl chose her favorite doll in the classroom, and then she's drawing bit by bit what was left outside her choice. So realizing things about space, things that were left, things that she wanted to point out something, and we always do this in a group and we discuss what happened in each person's picture. So another one, quite different but always based on the same idea. One still picture, simple digital media, printing and commenting. I was doing this for a series of public libraries in very small towns, and it was summer, and you know how Greece is in summer, so I had to use what was there available, cheap, and actually flexible for me to use with different ages. It's the light and the sun, and just little objects. So the storyline was very important because it was a library, so media meets literacy thing, and each kids or groups of kids decided on a black and white picture which they would produce through shadows, which would be the essence of their own story. And there's a lot of writing going on, and afterwards that could develop, of course, into a more synthetic narrative. All these things I'm talking, I think, are very much related to creative narrative, constructing it, developing it, and then some critical thinking of what happened in this story. Another one. Okay, you can just see that the visuals are very different. There is a lot of flexibility in the tools of this activity. And going back to the frame through a completely different scope, we have been doing some reflections on student films, 5-minute videos from teenagers. How could we reflect as a big group on them? There's another way to use, we call it a theatrical image. I don't know who of you are involved in theater pedagogy. So youngsters were invited to portray the essence of a whole film just by posing still in a theatric still way. And that worked really nice because there was a very interesting interactive discussion of what was the essence of the whole video. How did you do it? Why? And that was actually a story about a young man getting to know his grandmother better just before she was dying, and he was shooting her on his mobile phone. And that was the moment of the film where a guy in the school grabbed that precious mobile phone from him and stole it. So a whole video is portrayed in 2 specific moments. And getting away from these practices, just a little reflection of why I believe in the still image. It's, as I said, it's accessible, it's cheap, and everybody has something on him that they can take a picture. This is already 4 years ago. Imagine how much this room with prints of all the pictures that one day are taking around the world it would fill. We would probably fill the whole of this venue. It shows that we are engaged, everybody. I'm not talking about only teachers and students, but the whole world is engaged in this. Still image is now being used for all kinds of expressions, for thinking, for information, for flirting, for communicating, for exchanging ideas. Even when people are nervous and they don't know what to do, maybe they'll take the mobile phone out and they take a picture. Facebook is full of pictures. The point is, what kind of pictures could they be? How do they use them? How can we as media educators use this production for cultural purposes and for creative purposes and critical purposes? Oops. Okay, so I don't want to keep you long. Coming from this place where things are changing all the time and we are facing all these financial problems, I think at the end of the day what we are talking about is quick adjustments and being flexible and able to use the manpower that you have. Our small organization is all part-time people with different dexterities who are very well trained, and we don't invest on locations, we invest on, let's call it, it's a mobile think tank that has practices, and we can visit any kind of place in Greece and do the work. So I would suggest that if things go worse in your country, you can still go around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.